Europe toughens privacy laws. Europe is about to embark on a big-time revamp of privacy laws. From May 2018, businesses operating in the European Union could be fined 20 million euros, or 4% of their global turnover, for violating new privacy legislation. The fine amount is determined by whichever figure is larger. According to the New York Times, 4% of Facebook's global turnover would be around $1.6 billion US. According to Reuters, the law will apply to social media companies, banks, insurance firms, technology businesses, and any enterprise which collects consumer data en masse. Can't they all just operate from London then? No. This affects Brits as well. The UK is still a member of the EU and remains subject to EU law until they Brexit next March. The new law means that companies need to be more transparent about how they handle user data, get permission for it, and it also gives users power to request for it to be deleted or moved elsewhere. So, as the Times reports, this could mean moving your banking information from one bank to another, or even switching your Spotify playlist to another provider. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen warned the law may give rise to more cyber threats. She said users opting not to give information may hamper internet security research, which relies on trends in this data. The new law comes into effect in all 28 EU states on Friday, May 25th of this year. Here's more on privacy.
Privacy? What privacy? A Georgetown law report has found that a biometric exit program for airline passengers is improperly gathering data on Americans and violating their privacy. The Department of Homeland Security has installed facial scanners in 9 international airports across the U.S. as part of their biometric exit program. The program is part of efforts to nab travelers who are overstaying their visas or using fraudulent documents. Passengers' faces are scanned at the boarding gate and matched to a DHS database for verification. Face scans are mandatory for foreign nationals, but U.S. citizens on international flights can opt out and have their documents manually checked. It's unclear, though, if American passengers are being informed of this option. According to Homeland Security's own data, 1 in 25 travelers are erroneously rejected by the system despite using valid credentials. The technology also reportedly had high error rates and often inaccurately identified women and African Americans. 再见 privacy. China's found another way to get even more user data. At the end of February, Apple will move China-based iCloud users' data and keys from its servers in the US to China. The company says this is to comply with Chinese law. If a user's Apple device is connected to an iCloud account, it typically backs up photos, emails, messages, contacts, and other information. From the end of February, Chinese authorities will be able to issue Apple with a warrant to access this data. This only applies to users who set their home as China. Users in Hong Kong and Macau are not affected. The data will be stored on state-controlled firm Guizhou Cloud big data servers. Many are concerned how this will impact China-based users' privacy. But hey, it's just China. What could go wrong?
Big Brother on wheels. You probably know your phone is spying on you, but what you might not realize is that your car is doing it too. Connected cars can track and monitor location, driving habits, fuel usage, and even music preferences and relay this information back to automakers. The data is supposedly meant to update car features and improve safety, and in some cases help law enforcement evaluate accidents or crashes. But it also puts consumers at risk. Location data can be used to infer sensitive information about a person's health, religion, or political affiliation, and a unique profile can be developed with enough data points. With no car privacy rule to regulate them, automakers can partner with data firms and generate revenue when the information is sold to third-party companies. Car companies technically inform customers about the data collection, but they're often buried in lengthy contracts. Despite claims that driver data is not shared without consent, a lack of transparency means customers don't know what happens to their data and how exactly it is used. LAPD greenlights police drones. Say hello to my little friend. The Los Angeles Police Commission has voted in favor of allowing the LAPD to use drones in a year-long pilot program. Only SWAT team members in high-risk situations will be able to fly the drones. They will be deployed for aerial searches and gathering intelligence in tense situations. The drones will also be used in search and rescue missions. Every flight needs to be approved, documented, and reviewed. Weapons and facial recognition technology are also prohibited. LAPD officials attempted to address privacy concerns by saying the restrictions in place along with strong oversight would be sufficient, although many critics still remain wary. The commission will evaluate the performance of the pilot program after a year in order to decide whether or not to continue. Chinese keyboard records how many times keys are pressed. A made-in-China gaming keyboard is sending data back to a Chinese server. Unbelievable! Several users of the Mantis Tech GK2 gaming keyboard have reported a built-in keylogger is sending data to an Alibaba server in China. The issue is being caused by the keyboard's cloud driver, which sends how many times keys are pressed to IP addresses linked to Alibaba servers. Tracking this type of data without user permission could be a violation of privacy laws in the EU. To stop the keyboard from sending your key presses to the Alibaba server, make sure the Mantis Tech cloud driver software isn't running in the background. Another method is by blocking the cms.exe executable in your firewall by adding a new firewall rule for the Mantis Tech cloud driver in your Windows settings. And if neither of these seem appealing, you could always just chuck the keyboard out the window. In China, someone's always watching. Facial recognition is popping up everywhere in China as the government looks to technology to keep constant track of its people and what they're up to. Chinese apartments equipped with keyless entry use cameras to scan and verify residents' faces. But although convenient, the technology is also being used by authorities to monitor individuals and identify alleged bad guys and persons of interest. The project, called Sharp Eyes, intends to connect public security cameras with those in private compounds and buildings to form a nationwide surveillance and data sharing network. Sharp Eye's aim is to compile information on citizens, including criminal and medical records, travel and purchase history, and social media use, and link it to a face and identity card. Its name derives from a communist slogan and is linked to Chairman Mao's attempts to get citizens to spy on each other. Supposedly, the system can track suspicious behavior to help eliminate crime, which in China can be anything from homicide to speaking out against the government. Ultimately, the goal is for total surveillance, and in a country where being an ethnic minority or an activist can get you flagged, that prospect is frightening.